we riffed on this now for a few minutes. Okay. And so what would somebody actually do with, we'll focus on stay with the dietary fat intake portion. I think a balanced way to maybe put this all together, and, politics aside, there's a very easy way that you could make this a biomarker dependent decision. And so what I mean by that is, if you've had lab work done looking at blood cholesterol as we've recommended, and what's recommended in cardiology guidelines,
virtually every doctor is going to tell you get your cholesterol checked.
Yes, exactly. So you can verify this for yourself based upon what you have or have not been eating. And so there is to the defense of the new regime, there's a dairy matrix, or there's a food matrix aspect to this that says, hey, the saturated fat from fermented and whole dairy sources of food just does not have the same impact on the way blood cholesterol circulates in your blood. It does not have the same negative impact on cardiovascular risk. And I think that's what's maybe the main point in these guidelines. And that's absolutely true. The food matrix concept it doesn't just apply here, but is especially strong when it comes to the milk fat end of things. And so, there's still a hierarchy, I think, of good fats and bad fats. There's the best, which we think are polyunsaturated fats, the neutral fats, which are more, that's the word. It's more of a neutral thing.
Yeah.
So the fats that you're getting from full fat yogurt, for the most part, are going to have in cheeses, they're higher in saturated fat, but it's not going to have the same effect based on, not like pie in the sky, but based on research into this, that the risks that the red meat has, the fat from red meat has, the fat from butter has, MCT oils, coconut oils, like those are, it's sort of well understood what this can possibly do to your biomarkers, right? And so what do? The proof is in the pudding. You have your LDL cholesterol measured. You have your ApoB levels measured. Things that we've talked about. You can most likely continue to enjoy the full fat dairy, the whole milk, the Greek yogurt, the cheeses without worry, unless you're somebody who sees that these markers are out of the normal range.
Yep.
Or out of a range that that your doctor feels is it's probabilistic, right? It's just, we're looking at the risks of these certain things. If your LDLs are this, doesn't necessarily mean that this is the path you'll be on. But we know in the game of probabilities, it's not the best thing if you are exorbitantly high on this scale. So what would you do? Oh, well, my diet is, I love steak. I don't eat it a ton, but every week I'm buying red meat and we make tacos, and I don't pay attention to the fat content of the yogurt I buy. I just try not to buy the one with all the fake sweeteners, and hey, good on you. That's awesome. So what does your blood work say? Well, it's normal. It's fine. Well, great.
Yeah.
Great. Then continue to, you most likely can continue to do what you're doing. And that's one sliver of the puzzle. Like I assume this person probably has their blood glucose in check. I assume they're getting their blood pressure screened and all the other gamut of things. But I'm speaking specifically to that person who says, yeah, I'm doing all those things, and see, it didn't have an untoward effect on my health. So, Josiah, he should do the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's when you get this tribalistic dietary recommendation nonsense, right? Instead of saying, well, what about person B or scenario B, where maybe you are at high risk. You eat all those same things. You have your blood drawn, and you see that you're on the higher end, or you're in a range that is not great, we'll say. So what would you do? You can then unwind this and say, well, maybe the lower fat, milk is a better option. Maybe almond milk is a better replacement. Maybe I limit I can still eat tacos, but maybe every third time I make tacos, I get ground turkey instead. Well, instead of eating the ribeye, maybe I get a leaner cut.
Yeah.
I get a leaner cut of steak. Maybe you start to make those decisions and you say the same thing. You give it 6 months, whatever, and your blood work improves, let's say. Well, you know that you are somebody who, from a dietary cholesterol standpoint, it's sensitive to what's happening with your intake. There are then individuals who maybe they're like in this third category where the food doesn't matter, the changes one way or the other don't matter as much. You have a genetic propensity towards high blood cholesterol. You can have other measures taken to see if there's a true hereditary component. For those people, they usually have an exorbitantly high number that is just not going to respond to dietary changes. Unfortunately.
Yep.
And this is even like a vast oversimplification of a lot of this. But the point being, we could go nutrient by nutrient and almost like have this discussion. And so I think that's what makes making a dietary guideline challenging, but also this is the reasonable, in my opinion, from what I know now, this is the reasonable approach to dietary fat intake. As much as I think that the red meat increase in recommendation is troubling, well, it may not. The reality is it may not be troubling for every single person. But again, in a scenario where it is you're just managing all these different risks, for another person, it could be a pretty bad idea.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's some of that is the challenge of putting together guidelines that are theoretically universally applicable when the reality is individual biology does vary.
Right. Exactly. And then again, looping back maybe the cancer risk of certain meats. If you're eating a chunk of red meat and
you like it well done.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
First of all, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Gosh, why have red meat if you're just going to turn it into char? Anyway, sorry.